Hey all, this is for the photography class at Hummy's World. It is important to be able to look at the properties of your photo in order to determine what the settings are that you took that photo in. This is something you cannot do with film photography. If you are sitting and taking the same photo in many different settings and using a film, you need to carry a notebook along with you and make notes of what your aperture and your shutter speed are. But that's what's so great about the digital age of photography, is that you don't need to sit and take that notebook. The recordings of the settings are in the properties of each photo. So in order to see these properties, so that you can go out and do test photos and then come back to your computer to see what each setting does in order to learn a little bit more about your photos, just simply right click on a photo, scroll down and choose properties, and you're going to see this properties box show. Click on details, and now I am in Windows 7. This I know works in XP and all versions of Windows, and I'm sure that Mac has something very similar. If you scroll down to the camera section, you're going to see what camera I took this with, the f-stop that was used, the exposure time, and the ISO. Those are the three main things that affect a photo. That's your triangle, that when you change one of these, it affects the other one. Another one that's important is exposure bias. So if you are manually changing that exposure from the main settings, that's going to actually show up too. Of course I didn't do that here. It says 0, and your focal length is also an important one that may come into play later. And you can see there's no flash here and a metering mode. If I click down on this drop arrow, you're going to see the other metering options that are available from cameras, and we will be talking about those. Same thing here for the flash. They have actually a ton of them in here. Those are other things. Same here for the, I thought it doesn't have a drop down. It did, and I remember seeing it in one of the programs maybe. And so that's how you look at the properties straight from a folder in Windows. However, there's another way that you can look at the properties, but you won't be able to see the thumbnail preview. But it's another great way to view them. If you choose details, now you might have this section of Windows 7 that you can use, or if you've enabled the bar up here, you can choose view and details. And you're going to see that mine looks a little different than yours, because I have right here the ISO speed, the exposure time, exposure bias, focal length, and f-stop. And now I can change these if I want in what order. And I also have the title here, and that I'm going to show you in another video. But in order to get these to show up, all I'm going to do is choose any one of these up here and right click on it, and you're going to see that I have check marked the ones that I have viewable for me. But if you go down here to more, these are listed alphabetical. Once you choose them, they all go up to the top, and you can see, let's say I don't want f-stop way down here. Well, I can move it up so it's right before exposure time, and maybe I want ISO to be the third one. So I have f-stop, exposure, and ISO. But for you would scroll down until you found these let's say ISO speed, and mine's not going to be here, but you'll scroll down to the eyes and you'll see it. Mine's not down here because it's at the top now. After you select it, it moves up to the top. So you just simply choose what you want and check mark it, click OK, and then they will show up here at the top. And so you can actually resize these so I can see more, because it doesn't need to be that big. Oh, computing files. I actually clicked on it. If you click on any of these, they will actually, oh, there, see, there's that drop down I remember seeing. So those are the choices that I could choose if I want to sort it by one of those ISO speeds. But you can move these so they're all closer together, so that you don't have to move this scroll bar as much. If I don't want date modified or type or size, I can eliminate those columns too. But this is another great way for you to just easily see the differences in the photos. This one was taken f11 exposure, or f-stop 11, with exposure time of 320 seconds. But this one was taken f11 with exposure time of 250 seconds. Now you can also see these in your various programs that act like browsers. Here is one with Windows Live Photo Gallery. Now this one doesn't quite work as well as the others, but you can easily see it from within here, and I wanted to show that to you. So here's a photo that I took, and it's not over here like you would think it would be as in some of the other programs, but if you just, I have this one selected, and if I click on this and choose properties, you see it pops up just like you see it in the Windows folders. And so you can actually change them from here if you want to change them. In Picasa, however, when you have, this is the same photo selected, if you have, let me click this out, and if you go to view and choose properties and click on it, this comes up in the sidebar, and here are those same things. You can see the camera, the date it was taken, modified. Here's your exposure time, 1/250, and it's actually a 0.004s. Aperture of 7, f-stop number 11, white balance was on auto, etc. So you can see a lot of those settings right here. And there's quite a few here. And so those are the same things that you are seeing when you click on the properties and view them here. Now if you are in Bridge, you can also see these. If you're under the Essentials, which would be your basic view where you can easily navigate your folders, you're going to see it over here. And here, this one shows f-stop of 11, the shutter speed of 1/250, and in this one actually converts it to the little icons like you see in your camera, which is really cool. See the auto white balance and things. So this is a little handy thing right here. Of course you can scroll down and see the properties just as you can see them from your Windows folders. Now if you're in the metadata, you have it the same thing, only it's over here. And here are the same things: the exposure, ISO, focal length, etc. And those are conveniently listed and expanded to the section over here. So that's how you look and find what your properties are. This is how you need to utilize your computer after you take your photos, your test photos out there. You're going to come back to your computer and look at the differences that the three might have on your computer. And so I recommend that you familiarize yourself with how to do this, because this is something that you're going to want to do as you play with your camera in order to learn more about your camera.